Liberation greetings to you all out there, my people of Ambazonia, my very resilient people of the southern Cameroons. Today is Thursday, January 27, 2022. On my name, Comrade John Akuro. Today, I'm coming to talk about something we have all read perhaps already, or if you haven't read yet, okay, then this will be your first opportunity to be knowing about this. But mine is not coming to read it or to get into the nitty-gritties of what is written in there from start to finish. I pick the key things and I'd like us to have a discussion around it. Because these things that are pointed out remind very quickly of what I've been saying on this platform over and over, and of something I said since 2019. My people, I know we all want freedom. I know we are all expecting that this thing should happen sooner than later. I would even have wished that it happened since yesterday, not even today. But my people of the southern Cameroons, we cannot do one thing and expect to get another result. There are some truths, some serious truths that once spilled in our faces. We get frustrated, we get angry, we get worried, but note, if we are reasonable enough, those truths would help us to understand where we stand and to recognize that there are certain things that we are doing that we must do differently if we have to attain the objective we set before us. I really want us to bear this in mind right at the start of this communication, that I absolutely will be agreeing with Steve Biko that I'm going to be me as me, and you can beat me or jail me or even kill me, but I'm not going to be what you want me to be. I'll start with this because I'm going to be a bit hard today. I'm going to be so much of myself today. I'm going to delve into domains that perhaps in the past I haven't, simply because I keep having that conviction at times that no, John, people just want you to be soft, play around some of these things, and then give people time to reason out. But my people, that time, we don't have a lot of it anymore. We have to be clear, we have to be sincere, and we have to be honest. The more the time, the more losses we bear. The more the time, the more our vibrant young men are succumbing. The more the time, the more our villages are being reduced to ashes. The more the time, the more a lot of our people are losing their businesses and losing everything that they felt they had worked and were keeping and hoping that when they retire, they will have a blissful end of their lives. But no, the more the time, the more we lose all of these things. And in this whole business of the liberation of the southern Cameroons, La République du Cameroon needs one thing, and that thing is time. La République du Cameroon and France need one thing, and that thing is time. La République du Cameroon and France, joined by the United Kingdom, need one thing, and that thing is time. And how do they intend to achieve it? We are playing into their hands. We are playing into their hands because we want to continue giving the impression, even when we know that we failed in what we are doing, giving the impression, even when we know that the approach that we have taken isn't yielding and is not going to yield, that is really leading to nowhere. We continue wanting to do it and are hoping that someday, by some divine miracle, result will be produced. It doesn't happen like that. It doesn't. Even the Bible says faith without work is equal to nonsense. So even when you have faith in the fact that God will do it, you have to work towards it. Listen, I know we have all read the article published by the UK-based news outfit known as Declassified. This article was published yesterday, January 26, and the title is "The UK-Backed African Regime Run by 5 Men." Of course, it's publishing a lot of declassified information, a lot of very, very, not totally declassified, a lot of important information, sensitive information concerning the ongoing struggle in the southern Cameroons. It talks about the attitude of the British and what they think, and by extension, the attitude of the British allies, and especially France. My people, listen. In 1961, the British felt that we should not be a free nation. We should not be independent because we will not have resources to self-sustain. That's in 1961. We will not have resources to self-sustain. In 2021, the same British signed a deal with La République du Cameroun, a trade deal over on oil and gas, and all of this located in the southern Cameroon to the tune of 200 million pounds. I mean, to the tune of 200 million pounds on that same territory that they professed did not have resources enough to self-sustain as a country. And today, the British feel that we should not be an independent country, because if we are, La République du Cameroun, which now depends on the resources on our land, will be severed of most needed resources to stand as a country. So yesterday, we could not have independence because they felt we were poor. We couldn't sustain ourselves. Today, we should not have independence because they feel we are too rich, just too rich. And if we go, the oppressor. If we go the country that is suppressing us, that is dehumanizing us, that is reducing us to the level of even fourth-class citizens, will suffer. Really. Listen, my people. There is some illusion, some serious illusion out there being sold to the people of the southern Cameroons by name Swiss process. My people, I don't know how many times I have to sing this, how much I have to hammer this for us to understand that we are being enmeshed into something that has the potential of taking us to nowhere. When you want to talk, they say it's a process that is supported by, endorsed by. Who are those powers that after the endorsement have continued to push it? You and I listened to Mr. Tibonagi say clearly that that process is in place as a process just for the sake of having a process. He was former Undersecretary for African Affairs at the U.S. State Department. He left just yesterday. He's not so former in the distant past. He worked on this. And that tells you what he proposed to the White House regarding that particular process. An indication that the Americans or the U.S. government had long come off that illusion that there is something in place called a peace process or called a mediation or negotiation process that will be engaged between La République du Cameroun and the Southern Cameroons. I like this to be clear. And like I said, today I'm speaking in very hard terms, and I don't care what who says, because some will call me and say, just leave that thing lying like that. I can't afford to leave it to lie, because my people of the Southern Cameroons, these young men and women, the old people whose villages are being reduced to ashes, some of them being reduced to ashes in their homes, this is not a movie. They are not going to come back. They are going for good. And this has got to stop. It has got to stop. Let me just get to one paragraph in that report. If you have read it, go to this paragraph on Ambazonia. If you haven't read it, perhaps look for it circulating on social media. I will try to find a way of getting it again published in places where you can see. Curly put it in a place where you can have access to it. The paragraph on Ambazonia, this is what Declassified says. And that article is written by Phil Miller. He says, the papers, is referring to the papers they got, referring to the scoop they obtained, the papers they obtained. He said the papers provide a rare insight into the Foreign Office's view of the Ambazonia conflict. The region was once a British colony called the Southern Cameroons. During independence negotiations 1961, local people voted to join the larger French-speaking part of Cameroon. A federal system that was meant to preserve some autonomy gradually broke down, and this marginalization fueled Ambazonian separatist sentiment. Now the important part. The documents show British diplomats noting that widespread human rights abuses continue to occur at the hands of both separatists and security forces in Ambazonia. Whitehall believes there is no chance of, take note of this part, take very serious note. Whitehall believes there is no chance of and little popular support for independence. But the conflict will continue to simmer unless and until the government addresses the reasonable demands of the moderate majority. I want to halt here first. Listen, if you have a dictionary, go into it and look at the word simmer. I can spell it. Simmer is Simmer. Look up the meaning. That is suppressed anger, being in a state of suppressed anger. So the British believe strongly that this liberation movement will continue to be where it is. That is, it will continue to, dang around like some kind of suppressed anger. They don't see any chances of us getting to the point where we actually threaten La République du Cameroon to be forced to come to the table, or to the point where we are able to, bring them to some kind of negotiations to talk about what needs to be. And who is talking about simmering? Simply means it will stay like this, and if it stays like this, what they need is time. Because when they assert that there is no chance of and little popular support, really, who told the British that is little popular support? Remember, the Swiss government addressed us as opposition to the Cameroon government. When I watched images of a town hall held recently by Comrade Bo Herbert and others, I heard him claim that HD, the NGO, had changed that statement to refer to us as Ambazonia. My people, listen. I went to the website of the Swiss Federal Ministry of Foreign Affairs today, about 30 minutes ago. The same statement is still there. Would us still refer to as opposition to the Cameroon government. Now, what is HD and what is the Swiss government? HD is a non-governmental organization. What HD calls us is inconsequential. The Swiss government, on the other hand, is a government representing a country. If they call us opposition to the Cameroon government, it's consequential. If they refer to us as Ambazonia, Southern Cameroonians, it is consequential. My people, let us learn to look at green and call it green. Look at white, call it white, and look at blue and call it blue. We will not be able to birth a country if we allow ourselves to be manipulated by words. I heard Comrade Sako excited, exploding with joy shortly after the Toronto retreat, when he said a British diplomat told them to their face that the Swiss process is the only on offer. Now, these are the same British that we're talking about here. Take a look at those who are die-hard supporters of that so-called Swiss process. It is Britain spearheading. It is the United Kingdom spearheading. The same United Kingdom that has signed an oil and gas deal on our territory with La République du Cameroon for over £200 million. And they're expecting this deal to be executed for a period of almost 100 years. And you are thinking that while they are doing that, they are hoping that they are going to support a process that leads to the discussions that can result to our independence. Something serious, something really serious must be wrong with some of us. I'm not joking. I say something really serious must be wrong with some of us. My people, let us not be fooled. We are here in the domain of what is called realpolitik. This politik ends with T-I-K. Go onto the net and look for realpolitik. I didn't say real politics. I said realpolitik. What we have been doing is allowing the international system to treat us as stakes. We are not really being considered as stakeholders. Because if we're being considered as stakeholders, they will not sit and come up with this kind of thoughts and analysis of us. And of course, we have seen throughout this report just how much support Mr. Paul Biya's talks continue to have, even from the British government. Especially even from the British government. Don't tell me that France does not support the Swiss process. Stop. That would be naivete at the height, at the peak. Why? Because France is aware that we know that this is their war by proxy going on in the southern Cameroons. France is aware that their first moment of saying we support the Swiss process will mean the end of any thought or imagination about it. Therefore, France prefers to be playing hide and seek and hides behind their key ally, the British, with whom they had negotiated seriously on the southern Cameroons in 1961. Reason why France accompanied La République du Cameroun to all the meetings, including the Fumban Conference. The British were nowhere. Again, reason why the British official on October 1, 1961, the day the United Nations set aside to decolonize Southern Cameroon, to proclaim the independence of the Southern Cameroons, the British representative handed the mantle, what they call the instruments of power over the Southern Cameroons, not to Prime Minister John Gufroncha, but to La République du Cameroon's President Amadou Ahidjo. Does this tell us a thing? And the French refer to us as un petit don de la reine. We are here joking. We are here thinking that it is because we wish that because we are working with some Swiss, they will bring La République du Cameroon to the table for us to have a conversation, and that wish will be transformed into a horse. As said in 2019, to all those who went to Switzerland in a Zoom meeting, I told them this, and I'm repeating it here, I've said it over and over. We must stop this stupidity. Come together first and concentrate on making negotiations possible. Did someone hear that? We must come together, coordinate, do exactly what the voices in the bushes are doing. Do exactly what we are seeing in Bui. Because trust me, and I want to take this opportunity to congratulate all those who are reaching out, sending little contributions here and there to enable us support the synergy and unity and collaboration move taking place on ground zero. Because that is absolutely important. It's going to be fundamental in prosecuting our quest for freedom. Listen, we will not be granted independence or freedom or self-determination through the speeches and resolutions of the majorities. No, it is action. Action all the way. So rather than gathering people in town halls left and right to come say, we want to tell you how La République du Cameroon is going to come to the table, please give me a break. Gather people to discuss how we break the barriers of all these frustrations that have been created here and there in this movement with the fragmentation ongoing. Before I came to this communication, I saw one patient, Abiedun, doing a video to talk about this. Other one is of the Sako IG. If you see anything coming from former Chris Anu, coming from former Dr. Harrison Bongwa, it is of another IG, not of, really. So now we have three of them, three separate governments, one country. And if I add other structures that don't call themselves government but look like government, we'll be on about 4 or 5. Or should we have about 5? For a country we haven't taken. This is ridiculous. My people of the Southern Cameroons. This article continues. Because it says here, I'll take back that paragraph to link it up to the other so that it makes greater sense. It says Whitehall believes there is no chance of and little popular support for independence, but the conflict will continue to simmer unless and until the government addresses the reasonable demands of the moderate majority. Listen, moderate majority. Underline that. Of course, the British know they are lying. But this is a lie that is being sold to them by La République du Cameroon. And the only way we will upturn this lie is to ensure that we get La République du Cameroon to the hurting stage. Once we haven't reached that mutual hurting stalemate, where La République du Cameroon can no longer bear the cost of occupation, where La République du Cameroon and its allies can't stand it anymore, forget any talk about negotiations. Negotiations will take place when La République du Cameroon becomes the party asking for it, not Ambazonia. We as Ambazonians, we can sing mediation, sing negotiation for 200 years. Nothing will happen. The day La République du Cameroon starts asking for mediation, starts talking negotiations, trust me, it wouldn't be 2 months before we are on the table. But to get to that state, we have to induce it. We have to force La République du Cameroon to get there. And by doing what? Not by sitting on fora and talking mediation, Swiss, morning, afternoon, evening. No, it's not going to take us there. And this statement continues. The moderate and good enough, Phil Miller puts this moderate in inverted commas. Says the moderate demands are seen as greater autonomy, financial support, protection of civilians, and respect for the use of English. Oh my goodness. Somba Ivor, Ayeke, Chacha, Nginyam, all of these guys sacrificed so that English language be respected. In fact, I feel like crying. I feel like crying. I feel really, really, really worried, frustrated, and angry that we don't see it. That's why I put this spot back on the screen. To see when Thibaut Nagy responded to his Southern Cameroonians and said, waiting for the Cameroonian Anglophone diaspora. He actually did mean our diaspora because he says Cameroonian Anglophone, talking of Southern Cameroonian diaspora, to show some unity in how they want to move forward. And all we could respond was, good try, coup plotters. Listen, my people. The salvation of this movement lies in our being able to recognize that the approaches we have used unto this moment have not yielded the results we expected faster. Otherwise, we should be preparing for the very long haul. I mean, very long haul. Should be preparing for the next 30, 40 years. Whereas there is opportunity in La République du Cameroon next door, that requires that we simply set aside our ego, set aside our greed for money, power, set aside our pride, and come together and do the needful. I see a lot of people on social media saying revolutionary council, some saying we need a fit conclave, we need this. A good lot of our people recognize that we need a reset. And I too, I think it makes a lot of sense. Because at this rate, we are going nowhere. Honorable Thibaut Nagy told us in bold, clear, and triumphant terms that we were not doing enough. Not enough. But we pride ourselves is government here, government there. This one, my leader, His Excellency up and down. No, my people of the Southern Cameroons, we won't get there like that. We will not be able to get there like that. Take a look at this. We may claim that people are on the ground, defending, protecting, doing whatsoever, but there is something we must bear in our mind. We need ideas that work That is why I come back, because I had brought him before, to Bhagat Singh, who says bombs and pistols do not make a revolution. The sword of revolution is sharpened on the whetting stone of ideas. Ideas. And the idea of the day today is that we need synergy in our ranks. We need to harness our resources. What is causing some people never to want to hear about unity, about synergy, about revolutionary council, about coming together, is the notion that they don't want to hear that at the end we say we will have one treasury, one collection point. Because they must be able to have their splinter sections to control things. They must be able to have their splinter groups to control resources. Whereas we need to make it easy for our vibrant diaspora who are contributing enormously. I know people who are contributing $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month for this movement, but a good lot of this in the wrong hands, because the money doesn't get to where it has to produce results. It is because of this that some people would rather the movement ends than have us have a unique collection point that will harness our resources, encourage people to begin donating again feverishly, and so that we are able to provide enough resources for those who are standing on the front lines, on ground zero, to do the thing for us, to get La République to where we can start talking negotiations. Talking negotiation now, Swiss is putting the cart before the horse. We'll know it will never get there. That is a process to send us to sleep, to play for time. And I said this before. Look, people, I am a trained diplomat. I read diplomacy at the Cameroon School of Diplomacy at ERIC. And so I have a clear idea about the diplomatic orientations of La République du Cameroun. I said it here before. France is not a military powerhouse in the world. It isn't. But it is the diplomatic powerhouse of the world. That is why it is called a superpower. La République du Cameroun, to their credit, one thing you can't deny it, is when it comes to diplomacy, they will be ready to auction everything on southern Cameroon soil to keep us in bondage. And they have been doing just that. You want to know how? Listen. Operating with their partner France, La République du Cameroun constantly makes sure that the African Union, that the main organs, the main decision organs of the African Union are controlled by French-speaking citizens of Africa. France will constantly make sure that that happens. In almost every organization, the French will make sure they have mainly French-speaking people there. And because those countries are their puppets, they now use them to make sure that Africa, that's expected to bring our matter to the table, will definitely never do. They will not. That's why France was at the vanguard of doing everything to ensure that Ambassador Chihombori Koa, who was the AU ambassador to the United Nations, be knocked out. My people, if we don't take time to analyze the situation in which we find ourselves and recognize that we are in a peculiar situation, but with a big shot at attaining our objective, we will not get there. Listen, southern Cameroon is not just located around the Gulf of Guinea, which is the next most important Gulf in the world after the Persian Gulf, which today is mired in conflict. We are at the heart, situated at the heart of the Gulf of Guinea. And if you study the geopolitics of resources, you will understand, therefore, the central importance of the Gulf of Guinea. Look, my people, we must rise to the occasion and do the needful. When we quarrel, when we splinter, when we get to the point where keeping power, having access to illicit money is a do or die, What do? We spill even bean that we ought not to spill. Look at what is happening today. Look at this. The name you see on this summons here is Franklin Ngoninjie. Franklin Ngoninjie is the Director General of the Cameroon Development Corporation, the CDC, with headquarters in Botalimbe. He's not going alone. I want you to see the nature of the people that are being called along with him to the Special Criminal Tribunal. You have here Mr. Chungong Polycarp, Director of Productions. Away from Mr. Chungong, you have Mr. Chu Martin. Yes, Chu Martin, Agent de la Sécurité. And you have, I didn't bring all of this up, you have a school of them, the accountants, everything, they are all being invited. They will tell you that is mismanagement of public resources. But my people, I want to be clear and honest about this. From the moment we started our disorganization, our infighting and everything, people have said a lot about money coming from the CDC to one faction of that IG on a monthly basis. And you expect that you'll be saying that, and the Republic of Cameroon will sit quiet. I say, oh no, the GM of CDC was right to give them money so that she'll have an exchange, she'll have some peace. Really? Give them money to buy what? And do what with it? When we behave and operate in this manner, I have placed calls to some actors in this movement to try to draw their attention to certain things they come on the air and say, to certain things they go on Facebook, on YouTube and say, and what effect those things could have, the adverse effect they could have on our movement. And they say, no, don't worry. They have to know that they talk to us. They shouldn't just think that we're some kind of outcast. They have to know that everybody talks to us. They have to lose confidence in them so that they will abandon them. No, my people. No. No movement succeeds without a good under the table information network. If you don't have people at the heart of the system of your opponent, you're not going to succeed. That's why the Republic of Cameroon infiltrated our movement to breaking point. And all those infiltrators are within, creating all the confusion within, tapping all the information of strategies to come and sharing. And that's why they are confident that they will overcome us because of that. But the few that we have in that system who happen to be cooperating, we don't hesitate to throw them to the dogs. What do you benefit? What do you gain by doing that? And at the same time, you sit and say they have observed that you are the only one left, the only last man standing, that if they take you off, then there will be no independence. Yet, you are destroying all the avenues that will give us the independence that we seek. If you haven't read this article, I wish read it. Look for it and read it. If you haven't understood that we are in a precarious situation, then something is wrong with you. We have to be bold enough henceforth to tell actors in this movement taking us on the wrong track that track is leading us to nowhere. We have to be bold enough not to go ahead thinking that this liberation movement is a popularity contest where you are striving to see who has, the greatest support or who doesn't have. We have to stop this. We have to stop this. Fellow Southern Cameroonians, my dear people of Ambazonia, some will tell me it is so hard, it's going to be so difficult to get there. But fortunately enough, I saw this on one of our forums. And it is a true story. It depicts exactly what this is. Trying to take the first step towards ensuring we have synergy is going to be the most complicated. First, it will be unpopular for those who are benefiting from the current chaos. Secondly, it will be seriously fought by those who are benefiting from the current chaos. thirdly, it is going to be presented as being, the opposite of what it should be. As that kind of synergy they're asking, that kind of, collaboration that they're asking for, and all of those things is simply because they want to undo some wonderful thing that we've already done. That's why I see some of you coming and saying, "Oh, why not join the act?" The act was created to foster the Swiss mediation initiative. That initiative died. It has no perspective for us. If they change the philosophy, then perhaps it begins to appeal. But if the philosophy is that of fostering or promoting something that is a lure, have you ever asked yourself why La République du Cameroun has decided never to make any official statement on the Swiss stuff? They've never come out in a public statement to say, yes, we are part of this. We endorse it. Nor have they ever come out to say, no, we are not part of it. The reason is simple. Because that ambiguity plays to the advantage of La République du Cameroun. When pressure wants to come from any side, they would point to the Swiss initiative. When there's no pressure, they say they had already organized their grand national dialogue. They had even already given a so-called special status, and they're going to send people to. And of course, what is that initiative? Those really die-hard supporters of that initiative on the international community, what are they saying that we need? They say, the British, they say, all what we need, greater autonomy, of course, represented in the special status, financial support, protection of civilians, and respect for the English language. Something must be wrong with us if we don't recognize that we have to radically change our approach to things the way they are now. And like I say, we don't have time on our hands. La République du Cameroun, as disorganized, corrupt, and ready, like a powder magazine as it is right now, is in the best posture that we can ever manage to achieve what we want. But if we let La République du Cameroun cross the Armageddon that is just before them, reorganize, and come back to meet us, ours will be a pipe dream. That is why we don't have time. That's why I even hear those talking of fifth conclave. Maybe the time to hold it was even since yesterday. There is need for us to reset, to reorganize, and to face the huge challenges before us, because we have a fair shot at independence. We must change the thoughts that the world has about this movement. If we don't, we are headed to nowhere. My people of the Southern Cameroons, I want to end here because I don't want to make this communication pretty long, but I will be back here to remind us about this. I'm not afraid of your insults, neither am I afraid of your stones, because whether you like it or not, the truth is the way we are doing things currently is wrong. It's not going to take us there. We have to stop. We have to reset. We have to re-strategize, reorganize, and go get the victory that is ours. And stop planning to go get defeat from the jaws of victory. To God be the glory.